Yeah, so in the last episode, we were talking about rage and how that's something that turns Sandeep Reddy Vanga on, or that's kind of his main thing. And तेजु अनम्यूट कर दे आई थिंक थोड़ा ऐसे बेटर होगा अगर कुछ भी बीच में
मतलब
ना
वो
हो
फिर
तो
बैकग्राउंड बैकग्राउंड आएगा तो तू बता दियो, ठीक है?
अभी तो कुछ नहीं आ रहा
ओह अच्छा, ओके
या
ठीक।
and like I think that kind of is related to what is the purpose of a movie
हम्म।
and rage is one emotion and you're not allowed to show rage in some ways in normal life like you're not allowed to do anything that in animal they do
हम्म।
like you're not allowed to murder people, you're not allowed to shoot someone's balls, you're not allowed to cut anyone's heads, you're not allowed to do what he does to his dad. All these things you're not allowed to do.
राइट।
In action movies like Marvel, they still show like cosmic violence, but they
या
don't show anything like normal life में जो एक बंदा can
वही।
imagine but not do. But if you think about something like even like Tarantino stuff, it's a little bit fantastical, but it's still normal violence that you people can imagine in their life. Um, or maybe that pushes a little bit more. So I think rage is just one of the emotions, but when you said it, what I realized was one of the purposes of media
हम्म।
or a film is like catharsis and imagination. It's like people live their lives, they have a million different imaginations. मतलब अगर आपको कुछ भी दिखता है आप जो आप नहीं करते हो, you would think about it in a way.
कैथार्सिस क्या होता है?
Catharsis is like people have emotions building up, and when they see something happen, they calm down in a way. Like अगर
मतलब वो
मान लो
रिलेट
आपको
करते हैं कि उनका इमोशन रिप्रेजेंट होता है उस पे, वैसे?
something like that, but more like अगर आप पूरे दिन मतलब रोने की एज पे हो मतलब गर्लफ्रेंड छोड़ गई, पेरेंट्स ने डांटा, क्लास अच्छा नहीं आया, and you're not able to cry and you just is bottled up. You see, go to cinema, you see some random thing happen. That is this cathartic thing, and you just start crying. And आपको बस वो emotion release करना है. So एक तो वो करती है, right? Is cathartic violence, sometimes cathartic emotion. But the other is also just like जो आप नहीं कर सकते हो, given the bounds of law, you see it or you
ओह,
live it
आई थिंक
slightly
आई
in
नो, या
media.
आई थिंक आई नो वेयर यू गोइंग, ओके, गो
Yeah,
ऑन।
so where I'm trying to go is that I think not only does he understand rage, he thoda understands कि um I think he argumentatively or logically thoda understands the nature of media more than people think. Like a lot of people try to depict reality in a certain way, but I
हम्म।
think not only is he trying to depict reality, he's also इसको समझ आता है कि um even though ये story real life में नहीं हुई है, people have
हम्म।
felt the rage. You know the Paul Schrader thing you
हम्म।
just sent me, which
हम्म।
says that he's talking about metaphors and
या
how if someone is like dealing through a certain problem, you take a metaphor of something that's not exactly it and you use that to develop it.
या
So I think yeah, this guy gets that it's not just about being hyper realistic. It's more about capturing or dealing with the real rage or real desire for rage
हम्म।
in a fictional way.
या
And oh, but this is very sophisticated. Like this is very, it's pretty cool. Um,
हम्म।
not many people can do that. So, and I think he can do this with any emotion, right? Like if you
या
look at porn does this with like desire for sex. Like you can't do all these things in normal life, but it kind of it
हम्म।
extrapolates it, or it'll sometimes take a metaphor
या
and scratch that same itch. Or if you look at पता नहीं आई फील लाइक जो रेज के साथ वो कर रहा है इट शोज कि इसको समझ है इसकी एंड ही कैन डू दिस विद ऑलमोस्ट ऑल sins, all emotions, all senses, and that's very interesting.
but I think that's such a cool I think you're right. I think that's such a cool way of analyzing good movies. Important to not disturb. Wait, yeah, because I think you're right. Like I think he's doing something that makes you think this is familiar, but it also makes you think it is. like larger than life. And if you can do that, basically you are really giving the viewer an experience where the viewer is like, I'm in this story, I'm consuming something, and they don't even know, but or they may know, but they're really relating with it, and they actually get it. And I think that is very cool. And I think that might be one of the key differences between this movie and say a movie like Bazigar. Like when because I think it is Bazigar that someone saw Bazigar and they committed a crime. And then there was this thing of like, oh, isn't and this is important because with respect to Kabir Singh, people were like, if people see men slapping their
Hmm.
partners, see Kabir doing that, then wouldn't they start slapping their partners?
Hmm.
And I feel like this is like a dangerous thing to say, but I feel like it is more likely that people would do that with Bazigar than with Kabir Singh, because Kabir Singh is like, you can like really get the rage of the character, so you actually understand what he's going through. And when you do that, you can see that he's slapping, but and you won't think that, oh, like this is something that's like controversial, like, oh, he slapped, like it would completely be in the relationship, like it makes sense कि ये relationship में हो रहा है. So when you're
Hmm.
thinking in your life, I don't think that is what is going to make you slap, because I think in your life you're going to be like, oh, like that was a deeply contextual thing uh that he slapped. um I understood that, and I feel like I see the rage in me, but okay, I would not go as far as slapping my partner, because when you think about the larger than life aspect of it, you're like, in the movie ये जो tragedy है वो ये है कि वो इतना alcoholic बन गया, ये हो गया, वो हो गया. Okay, मैं वो
Hmm.
नहीं करना चाहता हूँ. Like I definitely don't want to become Kabir Singh. So even though I understand the rage, I don't want to become that, and so I would not slap my partner. So I'm saying that the larger than life aspects of the movie make it a cautionary tale for someone who might be contemplating like like being violent with their partner. But the
Uh,
kind of familiarity or the catharsis kind of part of the movie that you said, it might also makes the movie great. I think that is what will make the person understand the slap. So I feel like any critic who thought that, the slap is just wrong and should not be there, they just didn't see the, like they just didn't buy the rage, which is fair. Like that is just like, if you don't buy the rage, you don't buy it. Like you just
hmm.
think, yeah, forced there. But I think anyone, like the two of us really see the rage. I think we understand the character, or we feel the character's thing. And so we understand this lab. We don't think that ye to morally wrong hai, and we fully buy the story. Does that make sense? I think I was a bit convoluted, but I think I was getting somewhere.
मुझे एक बात बता, जो बाजीगर है उसके एंड में डज ही डाई?
I
या
think
ही
so.
डाइज राइट?
I think so, yeah.
ही इज डेड इन दैट. um
I
yeah, so
didn't
like the
qualify. I didn't explain why I think वाजीगर में ज्यादा likelihood थी. वो मैं बताऊंगा, तू पहले अपना point
हाँ
complete कर.
मुझे बता, बट एक बार मेरे माइंड में ये भी क्वेश्चन आया that like Paul Schrader said that when he was like writing Taxi Driver, he was in a very lonely phase, and he had this imagery of like this man sitting in a coffin, which is the car going through New York, and he kind of did not want to live that life or end up in that life. So he was almost writing this as self therapy of trying to
Hmm.
explore that life without actually living that life. So I don't know if this fits into the context, but I can see someone doing that with Bajigar also, right? That they are seeing the roots of obsession. So they kind of
Hmm.
write a treatment of like what it looks like at the edge. And notably, Taxi Driver ke end mein, he dies. And Bajigar ke end mein, he dies. Kabir Singh, he does not die. And I don't think, I feel like Bazigar and Taxi Driver were written as I see the roots of this obsession. Let me write a story that takes it to the limit so that I don't have to live it. I have a very strong feeling that this Sandeep Reddy Vanga guy has lived Kabir Singh. I don't think he's like sitting and roots आ गए हैं and वो उनको explore कर रहा है to not live that life as therapy. I really have a feeling that या तो इसने देखा है काफी कुछ reality में, या it just seems not that he's imagining a treatment, or it really feels like it has a lot of anecdotes from his life. But yeah, tell me what you were thinking.
I don't think that Sandeep Reddy Vanga is doing this stuff of like writing the movie as an exercise for personal exploration. Like I think if anything, he thinks it's lame. I think he settled in medical college because probably that's the world he knows the most, because he went to medical
Hmm.
school, but that is
Hmm.
not enough to extrapolate that it is his story. I
Yeah.
I think it's very unlikely. But I mean, if tomorrow he said it in an interview that, oh, it's inspired by my personal life, okay, but like I'll say okay. I mean, I'll admit
Hmm.
that I was wrong. But right now, I think he thinks it's lame to do that. And I mean, it's also partially because he's mentioned it in at least interviews for Animal में, तो वो कह ही रहा था कि मैं इतना कोई गुस्सा वाला आदमी नहीं हूँ जैसे इसमें या अर्जुन रेड्डी मैंने दिखाया है. तो मैं
Hmm.
काइंड ऑफ उसको डेटा की तरह यूज कर रहा हूँ टू से कि ये बनाता है स्टोरीज इंस्टेड ऑफ लिविंग द स्टोरी. So I think he does not have a personal relationship with the story, and I think that is why the movies kind of are so mainstream. Like I think some extent what makes it mainstream is also an effort to make it mainstream. Whereas
Hmm.
Paul Schrader is trying to write the story for himself. And I think the reason I sent you the Paul Schrader screenwriting framework is because I think you are interested in writing for yourself kind of thing. Like I feel like like it's like about the joy of writing or something. I don't think Wanga is making writing
Hmm.
it for his own enjoyment or for his pleasure, and he's trying to explore a personal or any of that kind of stuff. I think he's doing it to make an entertaining movie,
Hmm.
but he's sophisticated enough as a filmmaker to
Hmm.
understand he's an artist and he's not a businessman. Whereas I feel like some of
Yeah.
the South directors and a bunch of Bollywood directors, they really look at, even as directors, they look at their
Yeah.
work as a businessman, which is what a producer is supposed to do. But directors do that. I feel like the director of Jawan is definitely a business guy. Like he doesn't understand what he can do as an artist for sure. Like he's not using the medium smartly enough.
Yeah.
I think Wanga is smart enough to use the medium, but he's also like not so personally indulgent that he makes it about himself. So, but I still think it's curious that you were saying that maybe Bazigar's writer did that, and that's why Bazigar and Taxi Driver both end um, in their deaths, whereas this does not. I definitely think this does not end in the death because the movie is made as a movie. He understands that
Hmm.
this is a medium जिससे हम लोगों को मजा भी दे सकते
Hmm.
हैं and वो कर सकते हैं. Whereas I think those people are not thinking about the medium as much. I don't know about
They're so
Bazigar.
kind of self-serving.
I think Taxi Driver is fairly self-serving. Like even Scorsese, from Scorsese's point of view, it is pretty self-serving. Um, I mean, that's why he's not making these movies. If you see the Hollywood Reporter roundtable where he was there for The Irishman and Todd
Yeah.
Phillips was there for Joker,
Yeah.
Joker is inspired by Taxi Driver, Mean Streets, etc.
Yeah.
Right? And so people were like, "Why didn't you just direct Joker? Like,
Yeah.
why did you have Todd do it?" And he's like, "I'm not interested in this kind of movie. I'm interested in the Irishman kind of movie, which is larger than life, which spans years. If you
Yeah.
see Killers of Flower Moon, it is also a larger than life story." Because that's the movies. Because now he's making it for an audience. Now I don't think he's making it कि भाई आप explore करते हैं सीखते हैं NYU
How was
graduate.
Killers of the Flower Moon? How was it?
It's mind blowing. I think it's mind blowing. I think it is what he's doing is what Wanga has done. Like if you like Wanga's movie, I think you will like Killers of the Flower Moon. I will say that the one thing that might make it a bit boring for you compared to Wanga's work is that he is also like he's very interested in aesthetics, like of the camera and like how you can move the
Hmm.
camera, etc. I mean, partially because वो US में बड़ा हुआ है types और यहाँ की मूवियों में काफी हुआ है. तो so so because of that he will sometimes indulge in some visual things he's interested in that he is not thinking about the audience at that point, so you might
Hmm.
find it boring. But if you indulge enough the way I did, like I think you would love the movie. But yeah, I think so. Bazigar, I would not equate it with Taxi Driver in that कि भाई writer ने अपना exploration किया था, because that is the movie was still a commercial movie. I'm sure. Like Bollywood में, I don't
Hmm.
think जो भी mainstream movies रही हैं, I would not say कि mainstream movies कभी ऐसी हुई हैं कि मतलब ऐसी मेन स्ट्रीम मूवीज कभी इतना मेरे हिसाब से वो नहीं हुआ है कि सबवर्ट ही कर देते हैं टाइप्स, पूरा सबवर्ट कर देंगे तो. एंड आई थिंक अपने एक पर्सनल चीजों को एक्सप्लोर करना काफी subversive टाइप की चीज है mainstream में. um but anyway, let's yeah, like what are your more thoughts on the rage of the character? Maybe we can dive a bit deeper instead of abstracting it out towards his work as a director, like more specifically about Kabir Singh and rage. And the slap scene is not the only scene. There's the scene in the football ground where you see the rage for the
Dude,
first
that
time.
was awesome. That was awesome. The football scene where that fight, it's like, I mean, I don't know that much about like screenwriting theory or like film or story development theory, but I know that I know a little bit about comedy and magic.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to have a punchline, you need to have a setup. You need to kind of build in like a minute, you need to build some universe so that the people are seeing the world as you do, and then there's the punchline. So, you need to kind of take your, so मैं ऐसे चल रहा हूँ मुझे कुछ फनी दिख जाएगा बट वो मेरे कॉन्टेक्स्ट में फनी है सो सेटअप इज आप कॉन्टेक्चुअलाइज करते हो कि मेरा क्या कॉन्टेक्स्ट है और इफ यू लुक एट अ मैजिक ट्रिक राइट पहले में यू नीड टू काइंड ऑफ सेट इट अप and then there's the um, not the conflict but then there's the novelty because every novelty is contextualized with where it is novel. It's
Mm-hmm.
novel right after something. So if you had to come very quickly establish ये जो character है कबीर सिंह ये क्या है, right? This is before you do it off of or in relation to a girl or in relation to a romantic partner. आपको individually दिखाने की ये बंदा क्या है. What is more efficient than showing how this guy gets angry and gets in a fight? Like एक
Mm-hmm.
fight में एक तरीके से सारा एक्टिंग वगैरह चला जाता है एंड मतलब इट्स अ वेरी रॉ थिंग in a minute we knew what kind of guy this was
Mm-hmm.
and I think he did it the fact that he spent itna time in it and this fight scene happened before Preeti and Preeti जैसी आई वो एकदम ऐसे काम टाइप का बन गया like literally कॉलेज वापस चला गया यार ये बहुत जरूरी है यार like कितने ज्यादा you've seen romance movies where the setups are just fucking hollow like literally if you look at Tamasha you don't see Ranbir Kapoor prior to Deepika.
Mm-hmm.
Have you seen Tamasha?
I have, yes. I don't remember
Literally,
the setup though. I just.
dude, literally the moment you see them is you see Ranbir is when they meet in Corsica. Like वो बोल रही होती है कि ये मेरा गुम गया and वो मिल जाते हैं हमें थोड़ा सा पता ही नहीं चलता है कि ये रणबीर क्या क्या है या दीपिका क्या है prior to them meeting. अब
Mm-hmm.
पूरी मूवी में थ्रू आउट पता चलता है like and maybe that's इम्तियाज का creative choice that I will tell about this character um completely through the post love thing or I'll even show the past like I don't mean to say that Imtiaz is a worst director. I think he's made conscious decisions about when to show the kids past. By the way, I think Animal is very inspired by uh Tamasha in at least two accounts. Dad son scene in Tamasha and this, where I found it very interesting. Actually, I think it's a Ranbir Kapoor trope. Like I don't know if trope is the right word, but Ranbir Kapoor का I think काफी movies में होता है. Even Wake Up Sid में there's this like dialogue
Oh
between
yeah, right.
So there is this thing in Tamasha that बचपन के जो flashbacks हैं school के that's literally from Tamasha.
Mm-hmm.
तमाशा में याद है वो जो छोटा बच्चा प्ले करता है उसे.
Yeah.
So I think both थोड़ा तमाशा inspired है, but the point I was trying to make is in Tamasha they show the kid version and normal Ranveer later, but in Kabir Singh they show the rage पहले and they establish कि ये बंदा क्या है. It's very linear in that way and मुझे वो बड़ा अच्छा लगा. Yeah, I think that's very important. A lot of movies don't do it and I think उसने बहुत time लगाया उसमें until Preeti comes. Like पूरी fight दिखा दी and at that point you might even think ये तो है ही नहीं love story. ये तो क्या लड़ाई दिखा रहे हैं स्कूल का कॉलेज स्टोरी है क्या है ये. तो
Mm-hmm.
उसने जितना ठहराव के साथ वो दिखाया वो मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think many movies do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think first of all, I think for one of the big things why that scene is such a rich scene, I think you're right, the word is ठहराव. मतलब वो definitely वो एक ठहराव है उस scene में एकदम उसने टाइम लिया है दिखाने के लिए कि क्या है. Like the slow motion is uncompromising. The build up for what makes him punch is like it is uncompromised. It's not like, oh, the audience will get it. Why do we need to show the whole thing? Let's just get him to punch. It's not that. They take time to show okay, for like what's happening in the game. Like, why is he getting mad? Like, is there a logic to him getting mad?
Mm.
There fully is a logic. Like there is, like, the guy was an asshole who he punched. The guy is started annoying Kabir, and that's why Kabir pushed. So I think that's like he has the thing to show ki let's not dumb this down, because at the end of the day the audience is just
Yeah,
going to take that this guy is a tempered guy. So let's
yeah,
not even show that there is logic to why he's mad. Let's just make him mad. But he's like, no, but Kabir has a principle. Kabir is like not mad for, he says to the professor when he asks to be admitted back, he's like, I'm not a rebel without a cause, sir. Like,
yeah,
because he was mad because the other guy was an asshole. And उसका principles इतना advanced है कि वो तो justify भी नहीं करेगा. वो कह रहा है कि मैं सही हूँ, मेरे को तुझे बताने की भी जरूरत नहीं है. इसी वजह
yeah.
से शिवा पीछे पीछे आता रहता है, कहते रहता है कि सर वो तो बताना भी नहीं चाहता था, मैं पता. I think so definitely he has fully been conscious about that scene to show the character in a rich way and not in a reductive way. And another thing I would say is the scene actually starts with the aftermath of the fight. Like there's this slow-mo scene of how there's an कूलर सब टूटे वूटे हुए हैं, फिर वो पीछे जाता है सीन के शुरू में, एंड फिर वो पूरा फाइट दिखाते हैं.
Are
एंड
you
आई
sure वो aftermath है?
हाँ हाँ, वो आफ्टर में आता है. एंड आई ऑलवेज थॉट कि ये
Okay.
बड़ा नोटिसेबल है कि भाई ये काफी थोड़ा जारिंग जारिंग सा है, तो इसने ऐसा क्यों दिखाया कि
नहीं,
टू.
I don't think aftermath है. I think वो किसी और को चोट लगी होती है जिसपे वो अल्कोहल डाल रहा होता है. From the match, not from the fight.
ओ नो नो ब्रो, इट्स डेफिनेटली आफ्टर मैथ. लाइक
Okay.
डू यू वांट मी टू शेयर स्क्रीन और
नहीं
समथिंग?
नहीं, I believe you. I just thought I'll try to.
Yeah,
ठीक है,
but
फिर
yeah,
नहीं
after
था.
the call I'll show you. I'll show you.
हाँ.
But uh so I
I didn't
always
notice
इतना
that. Yeah.
jarring है कि क्यों दिखा रहा है ऐसे कि आफ्टर मैथ से फ्लैशबैक दिखाने की क्या जरूरत है, मतलब सीधा क्यों नहीं
हाँ.
दिखा रहा. एंड आई वंडर इफ this is a reach, but I wonder if he's trying to show the reductive kind of idea of who Kabir is, and then like actually show what Kabir is. Like if you just saw ki he, like you could easily get by with the scene where he just, like, like you get the audience gets the information कि इसने किसी को मुक्का मारा. If you just show that flashback,
Hmm.
because you can just add a dialogue of Shiva or someone being like भाई तूने क्यों किया ये ऐसे, and you can just go to the next scene. But and he showed that, and then he went back to the whole thing. So I was like, there's a chance that he's trying to um tell you the difference between who you think Kabir might be versus who he actually is or something. But I think that is
Wow.
a reach. Like what I'm really trying to do is just to interpret it, because there is something to interpret there. Like I know he did it, like there's some conscious choice he made of um having the flashback. But yeah, I think that scene is a
Wow.
really great example of the Tehrav and stuff. Let's do another rage scene of the Kaam Wali Bai, because
नहीं यार,
that's super
उसके
controversial.
पहले उसके पहले can we
Yeah.
talk about the scene where he beats the shit out of that guy again?
In the holy scene.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
यार,
Yeah.
that scene where he's punching that guy, and then that guy takes a smoke and he lights his smoke and वो धुआं उसके मुंह पे फेंकता है, and Preeti starts crying. I was just thinking right now, that scene is genius.
Dude,
It's
if anyone thought that this guy is stupid, like if they thought that Kabir Singh is stupid and this character has been just designed to be a fake angry guy, they were dumb. They were not smart enough to understand this scene. Like
uh,
if they didn't understand this scene, then they definitely would not have understood कि कबीर इतना वो क्यों है.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
it's such a profound and specific scene. मतलब,
exactly.
and it's like people don't understand कि specificity इतनी जरूरी चीज होती है. मतलब, just to summarize to our audience, this guy who Kabir beat wants to take revenge on him. So Holi ho rahi hoti hai. He goes and he puts color on Kabir's girlfriend. He does it in an inappropriate way. Kabir Singh obviously gets very angry. He consoles the girlfriend, gets her to get like a baseball bat or something, वो उसको बिठा के जाता है इस बंदे के पास, बेसिकली ब्रेक्स हिज माउथ, एंड देन डू यू वांट टू टेल इसके आगे क्या होता है?
And an addendum is ki the way he beats it, like the way it's definitely like Anurag Kashyap style. He keeps punching him, and you can see the blood, and it's shot in such a way that it's like you have seen 10,000 murder scenes like that. If you've seen Patal Lok, you've seen a serial killer kill someone like that. That's how they show Kabir Singh punching this guy. But हाँ, उसके बाद क्या होता है कि ये बहुत बार रहता है और फिर बोलता है कि भाई मैं कुछ ज्यादा ही प्यार करता हूँ, मैं अनकंट्रोलेबली प्यार करता हूँ इस बंदी से, उसको कुछ हो गया तो मैं पागल हो जाऊंगा, ये वो क्यों करे, तो ही पंचेस, देन ही मेक्स लाइक एन इमोशनल अपील कि ब्रो डोंट डू दीस थिंग्स, बिकॉज़ इफ यू डू दीस थिंग्स आई विल बेसिकली लाइक डाई. एंड सो ही इज लाइक ही इज शोन हिज पावर कि ये मुक्का मार के तेरी गांड मार सकता है, बट स्टिल ही इज लाइक ही मेक्स एन इमोशनल अपील इन डायलॉग कि यार प्लीज लाइक कम ऑन यार, मतलब मेरे जिंदगी में खराब कर. And I feel like the other guy, his obviously his ego is hurt, but beyond that, the guy also kind of is like, so I think it's two things. His ego is hurt, but I think he gets it. But he's like he actually gets the emotional appeal. I don't just think he वो डर गया. Like I think वो डरा नहीं. I think वो उसको ये पता चल गया कि भाई मैं इस बंदे से तो हारा हुआ हूँ. मतलब मेरे कॉलेज के
या
सामने इसने मेरी मार दी. सबको पता है कि अब मैं इससे तो वीक हूँ.
या
But still, he's like, I still know कि this guy is a bit of a softy. Like इसको समझ आएगी कि कबीर softy है, तो इसलिए
या
वो कहता है कि भाई सिगरेट लाओ बहन चोद, ये क्या मेरी गांड मार दी इसी ने. सिगरेट
या
आता है और उसके बाद फिर उसको जस्ट बिकॉज वो इमोशनली उसको पता है कि ये बंदा सॉफ्टी है, वो स्टिल थोड़ा अपना लाइक रहता है, सख्त सख्त रहता है और कहता है कि ठीक है नहीं करूंगा या कुछ, बट गुस्से से कहता है, ऐसे नहीं कहता जैसे कि वो पिटा है अभी.
या
एंड you go ahead. I have more stuff to say to
This
qualify what I
is,
said earlier, but yeah.
yeah, this is obviously like a weird thing to talk about, but I think this it kind of showed. I remember when I read The Godfather for the first time. They have this word, and I'm forgetting what the word is, but it's about like this code that gangsters have that जो भी होगा वो उन दोनों के बीच में होगा, and they won't go to the authorities. So if someone kills my son, I'm kind of allowed to kill your son. What I'm not
Mm.
allowed to do is that I'm not allowed to go to the cops.
Mm.
There is this like thing. And if you actually see The Godfather, I am forgetting it. But in around Godfather 2 or 3, both the gangsters they break it. Like I'm not quite sure if this happened. My guess, if I'm trying to remember, that that pact of we won't take this to the outside world is broken. And this scene kind of shows that नहीं वो अपने आप में resolve कर लेते हैं. Now obviously you know what this guy did is pathetic. Like he shouldn't have done it. Like you know he like touched a girl in a bad way.
Yeah.
Um, but and this is the hard debate. But I'm kind of curious. दो alternatives हो सकते हैं, right? Which and as a filmmaker you show not just I don't think he's trying to criticize the world here. He's थोड़ा सा trying to show his idea of what is good. एक वर्ल्ड ये है कि उसने ये किया, ये बंदा जाता है प्रिंसिपल को कंप्लेन करता है या कोर्ट में कंप्लेन करता है, इस बंदे को ये हो जाता है, 1-2 साल लगते हैं उसमें, ही इज बिहाइंड बार्स और समथिंग और ही गेट्स reprimanded by a third authority. This is kind of the western way to do things. And like there's this other thing where he beats the shit out of him. The guy gets his emotion, he gets why what he did was kind of wrong. He can't do this, and वो कहता है कि बाहर दुनिया में कौन गारंटी लेगा कि इसको ये नहीं होगा, राइट? मैं इसको बहुत प्यार करता हूँ, and like
Mm.
whatever is resolved between them. And I totally believe that जो villain है वो उस scene में, he will
Mm.
actually never do this again. Like
Yeah.
I know he'll never do it again. It almost seems that he becomes friends with Kabir after this. Like it
Yeah.
almost seems to me that if some other guy tried to do it to her, he would beat her. He would beat him.
Mm-hmm.
Like वो basically उसकी side पे आ गए. It seemed like a better resolution. So
Yeah.
there is. I also in this microcosm of this scene, I थोड़ा want to get your quick thoughts on what you think of like legal resolution, where उस बंदे को मतलब 2-3 साल, I don't know, he just needs to think about this versus this like very different kind of resolution, which is very direct. And what you think of the contrast between these two?
Yeah. I think it is a fascinating topic. So I think in many ways, I think this is the what happens in the movie is a more effective way of um explaining to the person why it is wrong. And the other way of trying to take like official action, I think is somewhat ineffective in at least getting that guy to understand why he's wrong, or like
Hmm.
not even about the wrong, about what is coming out of his, like what is the bad stuff that is coming out of the action, like what is the consequence. आई
Hmm.
थिंक पहले वाले से घंटा उसको समझ नहीं आएगा, like अगर तू कंप्लेन वम्प्लेन मार दे तो उस कुत्ते को तो यही लगेगा कि भाई मतलब हाँ मतलब ट्राई कर ले, तू जितना एक्शन कर रहे ट्राई कर ले साले, क्या क्या उखाड़ लेगा तू, मैं भी देखता हूँ, उसका रिएक्शन वो
Hmm.
होगा. Because you can
Hmm.
fight, you can't do flight response, you won't do flight
Yeah.
response, you can just fight back. Whereas
Yeah.
whereas in this one you have taken the fight to him, and you're also like basically like you punch the fuck out of him, so matlab the guy is going to be like कि भाई मतलब मेरे को एक तो ध्यान रखना चाहिए, but then with the emotional appeal of dude like I will be so affected and stuff.
Hmm.
The guy is like, oh damn, मतलब अगर ये हो मतलब like not only is the girls, like I'm looking at the girl like she's this guy's bandi, and I was just looking at that, and so to insult him I was like doing wrong things with her.
Hmm.
um, and so in one instant he understands three four things at once, three four dimensions. A, he understands कि girl should not just be looked at कि ये बंदे की like कबीर की बंदी है, like she's a whole human being like you can't just think of उसको परेशान किया तो कबीर को affect हो जाएगा वैसे.
Hmm.
तो एक वो नहीं सोचा. दूसरी उसको समझ आया कि भाई अगर तुम कुछ भी ऐसी टाइप की अब्यूज करते हो तो वो जो लाइक मल्टीपल लोगों की जिंदगियां अफेक्ट होने वाली है, नॉट नॉट इवन कि कबीर और बंदी, इवन उसकी बंदी की फैमिली भी अफेक्ट होती है, और लोग इतना अफेक्ट हो जाते हैं इन चीजों से. उसको वो
Hmm.
समझ आ गया. And I think punching was very important for him to understand the emotional appeal. If you went and just like a softie, you made the emotional appeal, the guy
Hmm.
would be like अबे क्या लड़की बन रहा है मत करके वो करके उसको इग्नोर करेगा. बट तू बेंचो 10 मुक्के मार उसे और फिर तू उसको पोजीशन भी समझा दे, तो वो बड़ा इफेक्टिव तरीका है. तो आई थिंक कि ये
Hmm.
अच्छा तरीका है वैसे अगर ऐसी चीज हो. um which is, I guess it is a somewhat of a dangerous thing to say, because like you might not, you don't want vigilantes, but it does seem more effective than a legal system, no? I mean I've heard कि our legal system is like क्या कहते हैं slow. I've heard कि लोगों को
Yeah, like in a
मतलब
weird way, I would trust his word here more
mhm,
than
the court telling him not to do something or
the
whatever.
court, more than prevention, more than reprimanding, more than incentives or fear or anything. Like I would really trust that. Um yeah, and thoda sa if you only show like the ideal or the status quo Western received way of dealing with conflict, you don't even explore the idea of what is good or worse. Um
What is more
but in
productive?
Yeah, and in the next episode, I kind of want to talk about, if you want to talk about it as well, I kind of want to talk about when people say कि कोई मूवी देख के वो करना शुरू हो जाएंगे घर पे.
Yeah.
यार ये बड़ा ही इंटरेस्टिंग चीज है. Like if you think about it, there are very few things कि you do something and लोग actually maybe it's a lot of things, but I want to थोड़ा talk at length about how watching a movie can shape behavior. If it shapes behavior, are movies important? Um, do they have any impact? Are laws, software, money, do they move the world or do movies move the world? Um,
Hmm.
so I thought I want to talk about that in the next episode. It's a
Yeah.
little bit of a segue from Kabir Singh, but if you want, we can talk about
Yeah, we should talk about that. So, yeah, I mean, we were trying to stick to we basically picked two, three scenes in this episode where we were talking about his rage. I think
it.
another one of the scenes we missed, and I don't think we'll get to it, is the scene where he gets mad at the bai. And
Hmm,
I honestly didn't think too much of it, but it was actually very controversial because people put that as an example of how violent Kabir is. In addition to him
yeah,
slapping his girlfriend, is कि भाई क्योंकि ग्लास टूट गया वो अपनी भाई के पीछे भागने लग गया, ये तो गलत है ऐसे. तो आई थिंक वो है कंसिडरेबल सीन. आई थिंक इट वुड हैव बीन हेल्पफुल प्रोडक्टिव फॉर अस टू टॉक अबाउट इट. But I think just the one two liner I would say is like I think it was just a fantastical, funny comedy scene. Like it was just like
yeah,
it's like what if kind of comedy scene, and I think
yeah,
an intelligent viewer would be just thinking about that. I don't think, and I when I say intelligent viewer, by the way, I don't mean to say people like me who has seen so many movies that they know what is what. it's not that. It's like subconsciously, like anyone who is, even if this is the first movie they see, subconsciously you can see the humor of that. Like you
Yeah,
don't have to know movies to know what a funny scene is or what. So I think when people are saying that such a scene is a bad scene, I think what they're doing is they're being too conscious about it. I think they're consciously trying to intellectualize what a scene might mean, and that's where they land up in this uh situation, in this critical position of this is a violent scene. I think you're being too conscious, but actually as a viewer, as someone who looks at the world subconsciously, watch that scene as a normal person without a preconceived or a goal of like investigating it, and you'll see it's just a comedy scene. So I guess I put some thoughts on that also, but I think it is an important scene that people talk about in terms of his rage.
yeah, cool.
Yeah,
Let's talk again. I'll send you another link.
awesome.
Cool.